Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I'm your co-host JP John Paz for the two-man power trip. Of course, joining me is the financial wrestling genius himself, Mr. Lavi Margolin. Lavi, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. We often say it's a special episode, but today it's a really special episode. WWE ambassador, two-time book author, and as we'll learn about today, most importantly, dad, welcoming Titus O'Neill to the podcast.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Doing very good. Thank you for having us. And of course, the book, second book, Wrestling with Fatherhood: My Championship Journey to My Greatest Title, Dad. So please tell us all about this book and this journey.
So it's first and foremost, I'm not an expert on fatherhood, so I want to make people know that for sure that this is not something that if you follow this manual, follow this book, you're gonna be dad of the year or whatever. This is just me sharing my journey into fatherhood and the importance of it, and just sharing not only my journey but other people that I've had a chance to be a part of the project, like Will Packer and Mark Henry, Kofi Kingston, and several others, just to get their perspective on the journey of fatherhood, the excitement of finding out you're going to be a dad for the first time, to the nervousness that also coincides with that, and the challenges of, regardless of your career choice, whether you're being a WWE superstar, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a service man or woman. Fatherhood is a very interesting journey for any man, because every child is different, every man is different, every situation is different. And what I've come to find is that universally, the thing that dads are needed to have the most from their families is not just what they can provide, or not them just being a protector, but them being present. And sometimes that's a very difficult thing for you to do when you have a certain career path.
Now, what inspired you to do this second book? Like, what made you want to do the second book?
Well, I just think in society as a whole, I feel like there's been this perception that some people have tried to put out there that I can raise a child by myself. I don't need a man. And I look at various folks, including myself, that would say that that's a bold-faced lie. I think that you need both parents and both perspectives of a man and a woman to raise a whole child. And even if it's not a biological father or a biological mother, I think both parents bring a perspective of life um, that is needed, to make a whole great human being. And I understand that even though I didn't grow up with a biological father, I grew up with male mentors and people that took me in as a son figure and a father figure, that have allowed me to live the life that I've been able to live, but also have the perspectives that I have in regards to family. And I do believe that in a lot of families that don't have a male role model, whether it's a daughter or a son, struggles reside. And sometimes those children grow up to be to have daddy issues as adults. And you don't really hear people talk about mommy issues. You hear people talk about folks having daddy issues. And I wanted to just put something out there that not only just took head on the notion that fathers are not needed, but also not only are they needed, they're also valued.
Why do you think it's important to accept that, as a dad, you're not perfect, and just be able to be open to learning?
I think being open to understanding that as human beings, we're not perfect. Regardless of it's male or female, that we put this emphasis on perfection so much that we don't allow ourselves to fail without regret. We don't allow ourselves even to win some cases without regret, because even our wins, for some people, they got a 98 on a test and they were like, dang, I should have got 100. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody in your class got an 85. So you're definitely still doing better than what most people would do. And it's okay not to be perfect every time. In regards to fatherhood, like, it's not about being perfect. It's about being the most authentic version of yourself. And I think for human beings in general, if we focused on being actually who we are and not who society or our family members or who our jobs want us to portray to be, we'll be more freer society. We'll be a more mentally healthy society, and we'll be a more humble society. Because once you look yourself in the mirror and realize you have flaws, and you start working on those flaws, and you don't judge other people based on their flaws because you don't want to be judged by your flaws, it makes for a greater relationship despite differences, whether it's father to son, son to daughter, father daughter, husband wife, whatever it may be. When we focus less on the other person's flaws and more so on our inefficiencies, it gives us the opportunity to actually be a living example instead of being a living nightmare to other people, because everyone's walking on eggshells because they're seeking this quote unquote perfection that they will never achieve. And I think with our children, it is more important now than it ever to allow our kids to fail and help them through that failure, navigate through that failure, help them through some of those bad decisions. And not, yeah, there are consequences for everything, but everything doesn't require it to be death or death mode. Um, I used to think when I got divorced that divorce was death of life, you know. But if you keep living long enough, it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Um, and even in that regard, being divorced and having children is a difficult path of a journey of you being a better human being too, because now you have to make a decision. Am I going to allow this failed relationship, failed marriage, stop me from being the best person I can be in this space? Or am I going to allow this failure to kind of be my crutch and set my excuse for why I can't get better as a person? And then therefore, now you got to wait for the perfect opportunity or the perfect time instead of just living your life. And there is no perfect opportunity. There is no perfect time. Every day that you have breath in your body is an opportunity to be a better human being. And if fatherhood is part of that growth process for you and that learning process for you, you're going to have failures to go along with that. But you're going to have failures in life in general, uh, that people are looking to see how you handle that. And when you're a dad, people want to see how you handle losing a job, or how you handle losing an opportunity, or how you handle having to discipline your children for certain acts or certain missteps in their life. And I would much rather my kids live with the fear of disappointing me than the actual fear of me itself, because I don't want to disappoint my children. I want my children to be proud every time my name is uttered in a room that I'm in or a room that I'm not in. And that isn't based on me being the perfect dad or the perfect person. It's based on me being willing to operate in the perfect will of God on my life.
What is the mistake you've made as a dad, and like, what did you learn from that mistake?
Well, I learned, you know, probably in the teen years for my kids, like, I learned that, like, how if I raise my voice, I mean, I have a very boisterous voice anyway, but if I raise my voice to my kids about, hey, how many times do I have to tell you guys to clean up the kitchen or clean up after yourself or make sure you make your bed or yada, yada, yada. It didn't take all that. You know what I'm saying? And my kids were, when they got to a certain age, I'm glad that they were, some people call it brave, but it's not brave. They were just open, because that door has always been open for communication. They were just mature enough in how they were able to express it. And it made me take a really strong look in the lens, not just at how I communicate with my children, but how I communicate with everybody, especially in times of frustration. And so it was a very humbling moment for me that allowed me to not only show ability to my kids and say, hey, you guys are right. Like I can do better and I will do better. And because I made that pact with them, we now can hold each other accountable for what I want out of them and what they want out of me.
What do you think is the toughest part about being a dad?
I think time management and being present, even when you're around sometimes, depending on your job or depending on your responsibilities away from the house. Sometimes we as dads have a problem disconnecting from work or from outside, you know, influences. And sometimes our children, they really just want their dad to be present. There's been several occasions where my kids have gone to Super Bowls, they've gone to national championship games, they've gone to concerts, they've gone to all types of stuff. They've flown on private planes, they've done a lot of stuff. And it's been some occasions where there have been some big moments or big concerts, and my kids be like, no, Dad, I just want to sit here and watch TV. We're good. And sitting there and watching TV, and then they make the rules of we're all going to put our phones on the charger, no phones at the dinner table, no phones when we're watching a movie, when we're watching a TV series, no phones. And that's their way of teaching me how to be present. And I think that's the greatest gift that you can give your children is your presence, being present in the moment. Even if you've heard their stories, about what went on at practice or what went on, depending on the age, some kids will tell you the same story 5 days in a row, and you need to sit there and listen to it as if it's the first time that you've heard it every single time. And if you get the opportunity, which I did not, but I have had a chance to work with a lot of elderly people, but I didn't get a chance to do this with my grandmother because she passed away at a very young age to breast cancer. But if you get the opportunity to sit under the learning tree of an elderly person, they will talk to you about stories from the past every chance that they get. So while you may have heard it before, those moments are crucial for the growth of your relationship with your children, because when they become old, those same stories that they were telling you, they're going to be telling their children and their grandchildren. And it's just as you get older, you get more stories to tell. And I just want to be in a position on a consistent basis for my children where I continue to give them opportunities to tell stories and to make stories and moments with them, so that when they are parents and when they are grandparents as well, that they'll be able to share stories of fatherhood, of family, etc., traditions that were started or traditions that were broken, generational curses that we had versus the generational curses that were broken. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from high school. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college, and I was a product of a rape. My mother had me at 12 years old, and was driven from St. Augustine, Florida, down to Boynton Beach, Florida, to have an abortion, and she jumped out of the car, and months later I was born. I was labeled a kid that would be dead or in jail by the time I was 16. And so if it wasn't for the investments of others, when they had essentially nothing to gain in return, I wouldn't be in a position that I am today as a father, as a son, as a servant. And I understand that, with whom much is given, much is required. And as fathers, we have a chance to set or reset the course of our families' lives. There are some people that grew up with dads and some that were alcoholics or drug users or whatever. And you grow up and you can make one decision. You can grow up and make a decision, I want to be completely like my father, or I want to be completely opposite of it. I knew at 13 years old, and I talked about it in my book, when my best friend's dad was murdered, who was a very well-known drug dealer down in South Florida. Um, he said after his dad's funeral that many people thought his dad was a bad person, but to him, his dad was a hero. And I said at 13 years old, if I ever have children, I want to be a hero to my children, because I don't have that hero in my life. And even though his dad was in the life that he was in, he still was a good person when it came to, he would get people registered, pay for registrations for kids to play youth sports. He would buy shoes and clothes and cleats and reward his, his son and his other two sons for making an honor roll and stuff like that. And he would constantly say, be better than me, be better than me, don't be like me, be better than me. And even though I've been pretty productive in life and very, very good in a lot of ways, I tell my kids the same exact thing. Don't try to be like me, be better than me.
And it was also great when I was watching Bad Blood, or the build-up to Bad Blood. They were talking about, or Cody and Roman. They show up at the field. There's an awesome song called "I Am the Storm." I downloaded it, and it was awesome to hear you a part of that song. I was shocked. I was like, "Wow, this is a great, awesome song." How did that come about?
Me and Bo Williams, who's an artist who has done several songs for several different movies and film projects, as well as the opening song to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. He's been the producer of that. He's a good friend of mine. We work a lot together with the Tampa Bay Lightning here in Tampa. And he called me up one day and said, hey, I have this idea, and I want to run it by you, where you and Sonia Bryson are on a song with me. And I think it's going to be a pretty big hit. And he gave me the premise of the song and things like that. And then we got into the studio and worked on it together. And obviously it came out a hit. And, I've been doing voiceovers for a lot of different teams and organizations and commercials and stuff like that. So to be able to lend my voice to such an amazing project with a great message, that a message of hope and overcoming and things like that, it was very special to me, and especially to be able to do it with Bo, who is one of the most talented people in the music industry today.
Hand it over to you, Lavi.
Thanks. So, you've accomplished so much, not only inwardly in terms of working with your family, certainly, but outwardly as well. And one of the things people are curious about is your role as a WWE ambassador. What does that mean, and what element of it are you most proud of?
Well, first and foremost, I think the biggest element that I'm most proud of is the fact that they would create the position for me. It's never been done before. It is something that it's not about, your in-ring work. It's really about you being a great human being, and the company trusting that you will show yourself to be a great human being in every way, shape, and form in life. Not just on camera, not just in a ring, but you've also exhibited what it truly means to be a global ambassador of good. And so we started at WrestleMania when I hosted WrestleMania in Tampa, Florida, alongside Hulk Hogan. And we started what's called the Community Champion Showcase, where every premium live event, we highlight grassroots organizations that have been doing tremendous work in their communities, and we supply them with a financial gift, as well as utilize our assets and our platform to hopefully garner more attention to their work so that they can get more future funding from other sources as well. And we would award them a title, WWE title, that had their organization logo on it as well. And so we started it in Tampa, and it's been happening ever since we had WrestleMania in Tampa, where we have all our premium live events. So we try to honor various organizations that are doing amazing work in the community, and we're trying to support that alongside their current partners, as well as some of our current partners.
As the WWE ownership and management has changed over the years, it seems like this important work, there's been no bumps in the road. Maybe it's only growing. How has the support been from the TKO team and certainly Triple H?
I think Triple H for sure has been a great steward of the resources that WWE platform has provided, even with the merger. I think one of the things that I enjoy about what Triple H does, he has allowed talent to tap into their philanthropic endeavors more. Things that people are more passionate about, they're able to be more open and forthright about as well. You take a guy like Sami Zayn, who several years back, he was worried about. He called me and he was worried about whether or not he'd have backlash for starting his own nonprofit to help those in Syria. And I said, if you got backlash for starting something that would help human beings, especially those that look like you, come from your background, etc. If you got backlash for that, then it would be a clear sign to me that I'm working for the wrong company, and that their wherewithal to see the capabilities of not only the company as a whole utilizing their platform, but every talent, every producer, every backstage hand, everyone that's involved with this platform has an opportunity to change people's lives forever. And if we don't take that opportunity to do so, then we're just mismanaging what God has given us. And I'm happy to say that today we've done an amazing job of not only garnering new partnerships with various organizations, but also helping those organizations double, in most cases, their impact by not only our financial contributions, but also through our talent portal, where different talent have been alongside organizations like Boys and Girls Club. Several of us now being a part of the Boys and Girls Club Alumni Hall of Fame. Us aligning with our long-standing partners at Make-A-Wish, our long-standing partners at Special Olympics, our long-standing partners with the military troops. All these have continued, and I'm sure that they will continue because they're near and dear to not only Triple H and the leadership there, but also those in the TKO group, which also embodies UFC. And there are a lot of fighters and performers that also share that same desire to make an impact with this global platform that they have.
Talking about developing and supporting others and systems, from what I understand, you came up in your career from the WWE's affiliation with the FCW, with Florida Championship Wrestling, an evolution into NXT, and now we have WWE ID. With these initiatives, how bright do you see the future in terms of talent development?
I see the future continuing to grow for several reasons. Number one, just the quality of athlete that WWE is attracting, um, as well as the training performance center and the trainers that are there, the minds that are there, the resources that are available. Every superstar or future superstar that either comes in through the WWE recruitment process, the WWE college recruitment process, or the WWE ID program, all instantly have a leg up when it comes to the development of their personal careers and their personal brands. With how we utilize social media, how we utilize the resources with our TV assets, and how we utilize our programs when it comes to community engagement and allowing talent to kind of find their passion and then really sink their teeth into that. It really does provide the opportunity for talent to not only become great performers, but be better overall human beings. From the drug policy to the counseling that's available to the training that's available, it gives every talent that currently is on the roster and any current any talent that are looking to any future talent that are going to be on the roster an opportunity to truly be WWE superstars, not wrestlers, not performers, superstars. And being a superstar requires a lot of work. It requires you understanding how to walk the red carpet at the ESPYs one night and then go and be in a TLC match the next night. It requires you to be in a TLC match that night and then get up at 5:30 a.m. for morning media runs until noon so that you can do live TV the following night. It requires you to be able to perform in various different countries and still maintain your health and your wellness and your mental wellness. And I think that right now the company has positioned itself to be the best resource incubator for talent in the world. And I am extremely proud to see the growth in so many different ways. And yeah, we could talk about box office gains. We could talk about merchandise sales. We can talk about newly formed business partnerships. But what you need to talk about the most is, are the talent happy that are in the locker room right now? And I would say universally that answer would be a yes.
So, being involved in so many things outside of the ring, I'm not sure if there's the time always to reflect back on an in-ring career. But according to the records online, your last match was about 4 years ago against Bobby Lashley during the Thunderdome era for the U.S. title. Do you ever get the itch to get back in there in the ring?
I do get the itch to get back in the ring. I love competing. I love entertaining. But as I said, in previous interviews here recently, if there's an opportunity that works well for me to do so, yeah, we'll definitely do it. But I'm like literally getting ready to do 2 or 3 other film projects. I've already did 2 film projects that'll be coming out in 2025. I do desire to have a high level of success in Hollywood, much like my fellow WWE stars that have made that jump, including one of my best friends who got me into the business of wrestling, which is Dave Bautista. And I am really excited about that process of becoming that, and I have some great people to follow. I have some great people to lean on, and John Cena and Dave Bautista to ask questions and to get just kind of the best practices to help me on this journey, much like I would pick the brains of many of the veterans when it came to wrestling. I do the same thing. And fortunately for me, I have a lot of people that are already in Hollywood that are friends of mine that can kind of help me continue developing in that journey.